You've counted every calorie, tried every diet, spent hours in the gym, and still something's missing. You want more than just weight loss. You want your energy back. You want your confidence restored. You want a way of living that doesn't feel like punishment. Welcome to Master Your Metabolism, where we cut through the noise, ditch the fads, and give you a real plan to become the healthiest, strongest version of you. Hosted by our team of expert coaches with proven strategies, science-based tips, and real-life encouragement, not just to help you lose fat, but actually create that lifestyle that you love. You've tried everything. Now, let's try what actually works. This is your turning point. Let's go. Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Master Your Metabolism. We are here today with Amanda, our mindset coach, as well as one of our clients, Bonnie Kretchik. So, Bonnie has been with us. Actually, how long, Bonnie, have you been a client with us?
Well, on and off, probably, God, I don't know, maybe what, 3
Yeah,
in
because you were
between?
a client and then kind of went on her own and
Yeah.
then came back. So, I will start off by asking you, now when you came back, there was a true shift in who you were when you reached out to us a couple of years ago and who you are now, from what I know and can see. So, what do you feel was something through coaching, and you are working with Amanda primarily, that has really shifted things for you and allowed you to see more of a change and more of a difference?
Um, I think when I came the first time, I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know what I wanted. I knew that I was burnt out, tired, just needed a change and I thought, well, let me just try something. Someone give me some guidance here. I don't know what I need. And I followed the guidance, but never really did the deep work.
Yeah.
So when I started to feel healthy again, it was like, okay, I'm good. I'm problem solved. And then I went out on my own, and then when the wheels came off again, and it was like, okay, I need to go back, but I need to actually do some real deep work here because I can't just keep feeling better and then saying, okay, well, problem solved, because I'm just going to go right back. So this time when I came back, just being ready to actually do the deep mindset work was what changed everything for me.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And just to give everybody a little background on Bonnie, Bonnie is an endurance athlete. Bonnie, I mean, for fun, I think you were doing like 40 miles for fun, for funsies.
50,
50,
50.
for
Get the
funsies.
numbers right, Brooks.
Yes. But she is someone who pushes and does all the work. And when you have someone with that type of work ethic and someone that is able to put in that much effort, it really is, you would think, oh, she's great, she's doing fine. But a lot of times it's really looking at the whole picture and looking at really what needed to be addressed, what her challenges were. And this is something that I feel Amanda was definitely the key factor in that shift and what she was able to accomplish with her.
Yeah, I think that, well, the first time was definitely we did more broad work. I would say the two things that Bonnie struggled with the most initially were under eating, restricting food in conjunction with over exercising. So maybe Bonnie, you can share with us just a little bit of what your life looked like at that phase, what you were doing, what you were eating, and how you were feeling physically and emotionally.
Yeah, so, I've always been an endurance athlete and always been, more is better. And, you know, it's just something that's so easy to get caught up in. You do a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And endurance is something that you just see the success happen so quickly. Like, okay, this week I could do 10 miles, next week I could do 12 miles, and you just keep adding, adding, adding. And I was going through a lot of injuries at that point now because, when I was younger in my 20s and even in my early 30s, I just got away with everything. Diet wasn't something I even paid attention to because I didn't care. I wanted to be thin, I wanted to be fast, and I just got away with it. So at this point, then now I'm in my late 30s, getting ready to turn 40, and I'm going through a lot of injuries. In order to deal with the injuries, I started doing things like the Stairmaster and the stationary bike. And I was doing, you know, hours on go do 90 minutes on the Stairmaster. Then I'd go out and do, hit cardio on the floor and the ropes and all the things. And then I'd have maybe like half an orange to hold me over. I'm a personal trainer. So then I'd go train all my clients on a couple of orange slices until I got home to eat the rest of my low carb food. And so I was really just doing anything that I could get away with without further hurting my body. So the Stairmaster was something that was kind of safe. I mean, it was just super repetitive. Um, and I would do that, and I would do everything that I could get away with, eat. I had a thing with carbs. I think most women do. We just think carbs are the most dangerous thing out there. Even though I'm an endurance athlete who really should be living on them, I just wasn't eating them. But the hardest part of it was that I got a lot of um, accolades, and people would tell me how healthy I am and how good my diet is. And all my clients are so, they're telling me, like, I wish I could be like you. I wish I could eat like you. So it was this place of, I know what I'm doing is wearing me down, but yet everyone's telling me
Great I am. Yep.
how great I am. And so I'm stuck here. So I was so burnt out on it and so just mentally fried and physically and mentally fried that I came to just a breaking point where I'm like, I can't keep doing this. I always thought that by this point in my life this would be over. When I was younger, like in my teens, I thought, well, this will all go away at some point. And now I'm 42 and it didn't just go away. So
One of the things that Bonnie and I have spent a lot of time working on, both times that she was here with us, is, the mindset shift. And we looked at a lot of her behaviors and then tried to determine how they were contributing to and being contributed from her mindset shift. And I think one of the biggest things that we came to with Bonnie was that in the beginning, her behaviors looked a lot like an eating disorder, or disordered eating. And what we found out was it was less related to the food and exercise, even though there was anxiety there, but it was more related to some obsessive compulsive tendencies that she's actually had most of her life. So, my next question, Bonnie, is we've spent a lot of time talking about your childhood and your young adult years, and how important was it for you to go back and do that work on this part of the journey to figure out what's going on currently by looking backwards?
that was such a game changer for me. And because I think that so often when we're growing up, we're exposed to things, we're exposed to experiences, whether they're from our parents trying to do the right thing for us, but looking back on it years later, it was like, oh, they probably shouldn't have done that or said that. Um, the the things that we see on television at the time, the media at the time. I mean, I grew up in the 90s.
Hmm.
So a lot of the stuff, that I saw was, Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and everyone trying to be super thin. And at the time, it's just life. So you don't think about it. Those messages that you're absorbing, you're just kind of like, well, this is just the way the world is. And you create this narrative in your head that seems very normal and seems very right. And until you work with somebody and start to talk about the way you feel and the way you behave and start peeling back and looking back at, okay, well, I grew up in this atmosphere and these were the images I saw. Oh, maybe that's why I have a hard time getting my mindset to change, because the aesthetic that I was brought up thinking was the one you wanted, and all the talk about it, that was just, that's in your head and that's normal. But when you look at it then through somebody else's eyes and someone starts peeling back the layers, you're like, oh, that's really probably very unhealthy. And it helped me understand better why I think that way, and it's okay that I think that way because it's what I was raised with. So I'm not, you don't get mad about it, you don't get upset about it, but you're aware of it now. And once you're aware of it, then you can start to change those behaviors, or at least start to understand why you think this is the way, like why you think the way you do.
That
I
was
love that. Bonnie, that was so amazing. There are so many things that you had said that like really triggered me because it's before actually, to be honest with you, when Amanda brings things up to me and she'll say, well, what about this? And it's like, you don't put the pieces together because nobody ever gave you the pieces to look at.
Mhm.
They just kind of, like you said, they just were put in there without any type of like warning, without any type of explanation. They just were there, right? But when you have someone that shines the light on things and you can look at it and look at it with a different lens, it does allow you to say, and looking at it rather than shaming yourself to say, huh, that's probably why. And being able to say, okay, what can I do to improve rather than beating yourself up about doing it because that wasn't your intention, right? And understanding it absolutely helps to shift things and make things so you can have a different outcome for sure. So I love that.
There were two phrases that Bonnie and I worked with a lot. One of them was sitting in her discomfort.
Oh,
I asked her to do a lot of things that were very uncomfortable to her, including right away. We did some exposure work where she was going from like hours and hours of training, and I gradually brought her down to nothing. And that was, uncomfortable, but that was part of the process. So I want Bonnie, if you could talk about sitting in your discomfort and what are you running from?
oh,
Yeah. So let me start with the what are you running from? Because that is a very triggering statement for me, because a lot of times people who don't run will say like runners are running from something. What are they running from? And it would get me mad, because I'm like, some of us actually like to run. And I do like to run. I love to run. Um, and when people would say that, it would be like, well, let me show you how much I can run. I'm not running from anything. You're the one who has the issues, not me. So that statement for so many years would kind of almost take me backwards, because I would say, well, I'm going to show you how much I can run. It got me mad. But then when we started doing some of this work, I think you can replace the word running with any of the behaviors that we do that are not healthy. It could be like, what are you not facing by X? What are you not facing by overeating? Or what are you not facing by overtraining? Or, whatever it is, it's something you're doing to not face the actual issues in your life. So for me, it, maybe really was running, but it wasn't so much running as it was, what are you stairmastering from? Like, why are we on the stairmaster for hours? And I think that when you start working with someone and you start peeling back these layers about your behavior and your emotions and your feelings, because we all want healthy bodies. I mean, whether it's you like to weightlift or you like to swim or you like to run or whatever it is you like to do, what is keeping you from living your best life? What is keeping you, like, why are you eating those foods that aren't helpful for you? Or why are you doing that activity that isn't helpful for you? So for me, that statement all of a sudden then did start to make more sense, because it was like, well, for me, what I want to do is I want to run again. I want to compete. I can't do that if I keep running literally because I'm going to run myself into injury. So it became a statement now that I will sit down, and if I say, well, I'm going to go and do 3 workouts today, be like, well, maybe we should assess why we're going to do that and if that's a good idea or not, and not run from it, but maybe sit in it a little bit and say, okay, no, that's not a good idea. I'm not going to do that. So there was
Wow.
an evolution of what that statement started to mean.
Bonnie, just knowing where you were from the first time you reached out to us, it's like I can't believe you're the same person.
Oh,
I'm
thank
just
you.
so proud of you of all the work that you've done because it's it's just amazing to see from someone who was go go go, and like Amanda was saying, you had given yourself a day off,
Yeah.
which is so huge for you, of just recognizing that along with our body needing things, a lot of people don't realize rest and giving our body that time to just recover and be down and be okay with resting, because it's not just endurance athletes. I talk to women all the time, my especially my women that are in perimenopause and menopause, that we feel guilty when we're sitting and resting,
Yeah.
or we feel like we're wasting time, that we could be doing this. And it's that hard time to sit in that uncomfortable situation when you feel like it's laziness, when you feel like, well, I could be doing something else. So that's huge. I love it.
Yeah, that really is, and that's the whole sitting in the discomfort part, because I was raised with, success comes to those who work the most,
Yep.
no pain, no gain. And I was raised with, real emphasis on athletics and being the best. And, you don't be the best by taking a break. And, that was the culture of the day. Now we know so much more. But back then it wasn't. And, again, that's that whole like your childhood coming back to haunt you years later. So at one point, Amanda said, well, if you really love to ride your bike, what if you only rode it for 5 minutes? And I said, well, that's not even worth putting on the helmet and
Cool outfit.
the whole outfit. And she was like, well, then I don't think you really like it, because, why do you have to ride it until your legs are going to fall off? So, sitting in that discomfort, sitting in that part of like, okay, well, I'm just going to ride it for a couple miles here in my outfit. Uh, um, it was hard. It was really hard. But at the same time, I changed the narrative to, this is the new challenge. This is the challenge, because I know I can ride it for 50 miles, but can I ride it for 5? And believe me, riding past, like going to my driveway, was so hard to like turn into the driveway because I wanted to just keep going. And there's things that I learned through this process. The first time it's like, well, I'm an adult. They don't know what I'm doing when I hang up the phone. I can do whatever the hell I want. Yeah, they can't, if I don't, I can log on this log all I want. No one can see what I'm really doing. But then who am I doing this for? Am I doing this because I'm a people pleaser and I want to tell everyone how great I'm doing? But then I'm just digging the hole even further.
Mhm.
So, it was hard. It still is hard. It's every day is hard. Every day that, I mean, the easiest part is when I have a full day of workout where it's hard, where it's like, yes, I could just, it's a long bike day or it's a long run day. That's easy. What's really hard is, like I told Amanda, my coach, tomorrow my workout is 15 minutes on the elliptical. That's the hardest workout of the week. That's the hardest one, because just to get in the car to drive to the gym to do
Mhm.
15 minutes on the elliptical is going to be really hard. And when I hit 15 minutes, to not go to another 15 or 30 is going to be really hard. But I look at that now as the challenge. Like, I'll be
Nice.
more proud of myself when I get off and drive away than I would be by continuing, because,
Wow.
that's, for me, that's the challenge. For somebody else, no, the challenge is to do the full
Make it
15.
15 minutes, I will tell you.
Yes, because they want to stop. But it's all the same. I feel it's just
Everybody has different challenges. Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
I think that's what Bonnie's story, that's why it's so important, is because in this space, we often hear, which is my own story. Well, actually, I have both sides of the story because, I just have issues, but
you're just that
I
way.
just like to do things the hardest way possible. But with Bonnie's story, it's not the traditional, like, I was eating chips all day and laying on the couch and then I lost weight and I learned how to go to the gym. It's the opposite and it doesn't make it any less challenging. It actually
Correct.
probably makes it more challenging because Bonnie was being constantly positively reinforced for a negative behavior, which it makes it almost impossible to stop, which is why she's sitting in that discomfort the way that she is. I helped Bonnie challenge fears around exercise and fears around food and the under eating and the restricting. But one of the I guess side effects of our work was something that I started noticing in Bonnie, I want to say like 4 or 5 months ago. She was really getting the hang on a lot of the behaviors that were difficult for her. She was, eating more balanced foods and she was training less. And subsequently, in the training, the decrease in the training, Bonnie starts sharing with me that she's doing all sorts of new social things that she had never done
Yeah.
before. And I thought that was actually the most meaningful part of the journey because it was an unintended, not unintended, but it wasn't the total purpose. But Bonnie, maybe you can talk about how doing this work has helped you in other aspects of your life besides nutrition and
Right.
fitness.
Yeah, I think that that's the part that is probably the most meaningful of everything because I have boxes of trophies that sit in boxes in my closet that no one sees. No one remembers anything that I've done, races I've won because everyone's worried about themselves. Everyone crosses the finish line and they're like, how did I do? They don't really care how you did. Um, and I realized at one point in my life that I'm like, I don't really have, I don't have a social life. I don't really have many friends. COVID was a great way to kind of like cover that whole thing up for a lot of people because we couldn't do anything. Oh, I could just stay home and train because what else am I going to do? And um, I realized that I didn't have a social network anymore. And that was through my own fault because you isolate yourself when, I think the bodybuilders say it a lot when they're in prep. It's like, I have no friends. I can't go anywhere. I don't do anything because I'm so depleted. And that's kind of where I was at. I was just going to the gym by myself, working out all the time. I was underfueled. So I was really irritable. I was really tired and I always had great justification for it. I work so hard and I'm with people all day because I am. Um, but then when I wasn't so tired and I wasn't so hungry because I was eating during the day, going out to dinner with some friends wasn't this stressful thing because the food was not, it didn't matter. Like the reason I wouldn't want to go a lot of times because I'm starving and I can't control the food in a restaurant and I don't know how it's going to be prepared and what if they're late and so I didn't want to go. When you're well fed, you will go to the restaurant and you'll eat when it comes. And if you don't like it that much, you could have more later. It's not such a big thing because you want to be with the people. So I started really making an effort to then like reach out to some of my older friends and be like, okay, you want to go out? Do you want to like, even just go get a coffee? And that was instead of if I had an off day, if I wanted to take a day off, it was great to have a friend to call and be like, you want to go for coffee? Because it just took up that time that you are kind of normally wanting to go to the gym. It was like I could go do something social instead. And just last week that happened. I thought, I don't really feel like working out today. I can, but I don't want to. I probably should take a day off. It would be the smart thing to do. And I actually had a friend and she was like, yeah, let's go get some coffee. So we did. And it makes all of this, the training and the food and everything, just not that important anymore when you're with other people. You just come out of your own head because it's, who cares? It doesn't matter. But now I'm with a friend and we're talking about, her daughter and what she's doing. She's in college and nothing, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how fast you are. No one cares. It's just changed so much for me. And it's made me look forward to going out with friends and going to a new restaurant or something versus being like, oh, please don't ask me to go anywhere. I don't want to do anything.
And your family as well. It's opened up some new communication with your family and you've gotten closer with them.
Yeah, big time. So my brother lives out in Ohio and my sister-in-law. And we were not we didn't not get along, but we didn't see each other. They live in Ohio. I live in Florida. And I think, as you get older and I don't have kids, um, they're my only family. I have my parents, of course, are still alive, but you know, you get older and you're like, I want to preserve this relationship, so I went out and visited. I would never visit because I didn't want to come out of my routine. I didn't want to fly out there. I didn't want to like take the days off from training. What's the issue going to be with food? I mean, they have young kids, so it's probably going to be like chicken nuggets and macaroni and cheese and all that stuff. And it got me so stressed out that I would just not go. And I did that for several years. And I regretted it because I usually wound up getting injured anyway because I stayed home and overtrained. And then I was like, well, that was probably a mistake. But this year, I did. I went for a week to Ohio, and I was so excited to actually not be in control of everything because I couldn't work out. I couldn't. I didn't have a car, a gym. I was there to visit, and I wasn't in charge of the food because
Did you
you
eat
know
chicken nuggets?
we did not have chicken nugget. I did have chicken, but we did not have chicken nuggets. Actually, no. They were very into DoorDash, so we did a lot of door dashing and things like that. But and it was fine. Nothing happened. Like my body didn't change. My mind's changed a lot because I stayed up talking to my brother, who I haven't seen in a couple years, and I formed this relationship with my sister-in-law that I never had before. And now, like, we're very close. We talk a lot. We try to keep in touch. I tried to, be with the kids more. I have two nephews, and I'm not around kids at all. So I'm like, what do these kids
Pictures.
do these days? I'm trying to like talk to them, and he's showing me his like machines, and I'm like, okay. But it was wonderful. It was something that I enjoyed so much, and it not being in control for a little while, which has always been so scary for me, was just great. It was wonderful. It was like diving right into it. It wasn't like, okay, well, I won't be in control for a day. It was like 5 days, here we go. And it was wonderful. I had a great time. And when I came back, I was even kinder to my body with training. Normally I would say, okay, well, now I'm gonna kill it. But I was like, this actually feels pretty good. My body feels pretty good, not overdoing it. Let's not overdo it some more. This is great. So it's been, I want to say, like life changing, the whole process. So
I think
I would
that's,
absolutely say so. I would
yeah,
say that pretty much sums it up
it's,
because you think about your relationships not just with friends and having people in your network and people that you are close to and have a relationship with, but family and a relationship with someone that's your family that never would have been had you continued on the same journey that and path that you were on.
I think that
yeah.
that's one of the most meaningful parts of, because when before Bonnie left for this trip, she was nervous because she'd not done this for a while, and there was all those feelings that and anxieties they're still in there. You don't completely eliminate them. They're always going to be kind of your predisposition towards something. But she has shifted her mindset in such a way that now she is able to challenge that predisposition and quiet it enough to allow her to experience enough of something new to realize that it's not truly threatening. And, I think Bonnie's been through a lot of, like, there's no way to express on this podcast where Bonnie was when I started with her versus now. Because,
Correct.
I mean, I remember one of the first times that we talked, it was about like taking just 15 minutes off your bike ride. And you were like,
Oh
well,
yeah, I was like, no.
um,
Oh
so
hell no.
this is an evolution of a weekly conversations where we discuss these issues, and I guess I actually don't know the answer to this one. I don't know how you're going to respond, but what part of the mindset shift was the hardest for you to get through?
It's really tough because food and exercise go together, and they go together in all aspects of life, and for good reason. I mean, if you are a very active person, you need to eat more food. If you're a less active person, you need to eat less food, and that's just science. And they're so intertwined, and when both of them are need work, it's hard to do that. If it's the diet that's really bad but the exercise is kind of under control, well, you can work with the diet more. But when both of them are like really crazy directions, it's like, well, how do I fix both of these? And I mean, yeah, the easiest case would be like, well, stop exercising and eat more. Well,
Easier said than
that
done.
I mean, that's like telling the person who's overweight, well, just eat less and exercise more, and everything will be great. Well, you know, that's not how it works. I mean, if it was, then everyone would have, the healthiest body. So I think that what was the best thing for me was I was able to keep the exercise that I enjoyed, which is, in this instance, I love cardio. I love swimming, biking, and running. I was able to keep doing that while I also worked on incorporating the food changes. I think because it's easier for me to eat more when I'm doing a 50-mile bike ride than it is if you said, okay, well, I want you to do, sit in a quiet room. That would be really hard. Um, but we slowly did both parts of it together. And because it was slow and gradual on both ends, it was like, okay, you could ride the bike for how about 40 miles instead of 50 miles? And it was like, okay, that I could do. I can do that. Um, that's not so scary. And then it was like, okay, maybe let's add some more carbs in, but just like 15 grams. That's just a rice cake. And when you look at it like that, it's like, okay, well, if that's just a rice cake, I could probably do that. And it was just gradual on both ends. And then when you start to feel better physically, it
Mm-hmm.
becomes way easier.
Correct.
It's
Seems
so
more.
much easier. Yeah. It's like, oh, I don't want to ride the bike for 50 miles every day. What was I thinking? This is a terrible idea. So it just makes everything that you thought made so much sense before is sounds ridiculous. You can't see it through that lens when you're so deep in it. And I do think the only way to make those changes is just to do it so slowly so that it's not so scary. Once you start and you see that nothing bad is happening, in fact, good things are happening, then the changes can be much more. But until you do it, you know, slow, it's just a lot to take. It's a lot to do. So my advice to anybody would be like tackle both, but tackle them in
Yes.
a really slow, easy way. Don't try to do anything crazy because you're going to go right back. I mean, that's, you know.
think that's the same thing that
Yeah.
Amanda does with a lot of our clients, that they want to make these huge shifts, but you make these huge shifts. It's like running, like to put it in endurance
Yeah.
terms, trying to run the marathon at a sprint pace. Like you're just not going to be able to keep up, or you're going to feel like garbage and not really see the results, that you're going to want to see. So taking those slow approaches and again, addressing the things that need to be addressed, taking the biggest things that need to be addressed and making those slow changes. But it is once you get that momentum and you see some of the results and feel some of the results, that's where that just snowballs and you start feeling like, okay, this is it. This is working.
Yeah, and she worked with me so much on that all or nothing mindset, which was where my I didn't realize, again, I didn't realize that that's where my mind worked. It was like, well, I'm going all in. I'm 100% invested in this now, so I'm going, full force, or I'm not doing it at all. Nope, not gonna run or bike at all. No way. And you know, realizing that that was my tendency, once I started learning these things about myself, it was like so much easier to recognize. And then once you recognize them, it's not that it's easy to say to stop it, but at least you recognize what you're doing. And once you recognize it, it's easier to talk yourself out of instead of not understanding why this didn't work for the 18th time,
Yeah.
The awareness piece is the first and most important piece, in conjunction with building that rapport with Bonnie. She didn't know me when we first started, and I'm asking her to do something that's uncomfortable to her, so why is she going to do it? We have to have that relationship first, and then once that relationship had developed, I started employing what's called harm reduction, which is really just baby steps. It's not super complicated. It's when you want someone to change and you just like pull the rug out from underneath them, that's called emotional flooding. It's never going to work, because they don't have enough time to get their bearings. So for each baby step, I would assign whatever the step was. I would then give Bonnie the task. She would do it, and there would be time to reflect on it and lower the anxiety prior to starting the next step. And that's the most effective way to establish behavioral change. And one of the things that Bonnie did exceptionally is she was always willing to reflect on even some things that were very uncomfortable. As you can imagine, some of this work is about her deepest fears and her beliefs and things that she may or may not have ever even told anybody. And I'm bringing that to the surface. But what Bonnie was able to do was once it was brought to the surface, we would talk about it, but then inevitably I would get a message a couple hours later
Yeah.
with her thoughts. And then a couple days later, more thoughts. And then next time we talked, we would talk about those thoughts. And it's a process. And I think that's, people always say, well, how do I change the way my mind works? That's a very hard concept, right? It's exactly what Bonnie did, was she went through each of the baby steps. And I think Bonnie at this point is, honestly, I consider her a huge role model, to anybody who struggled with under eating, restricting food, overeating. I think her story is actually far more common than we would even think, but it's often hidden. Someone who's overweight, that story is more in your face than the runner. She appears to be healthy, like Bonnie mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
What would you say, Bonnie, if you could say something to people out there struggling with the things that you had struggled with? What would be your advice to them?
I think my biggest piece of advice is to find either a therapist or a coach or somebody who you can just feel comfortable with and open up to, because I grew up in a time when therapy wasn't it was only for crazy people. It wasn't something that healthy people like us did. Um so therapy was never even something I considered. It was like, well, I'm doing great. I don't need that. I don't have all those weird problems that other people have. And that just allowed me to keep this cycle going. Even though I knew um, kind of what was going on, and thanks to the podcast era, I would listen to podcasts with so many people who were just like me, going through the same stuff. And I was like, all these things that I thought were so unique to me, there was thousands of women going through the same thing. And especially someone my age, because I thought, again, like, well, all this will go away when I'm old. And it didn't. It's still here. And that's embarrassing. You think, like, okay, well, I don't want to talk about this because people think I'm so, I've got all my stuff together, and I clearly don't, but I don't know what to do about this. So finding Amanda, and the first time we worked together, I didn't tell her anything. I would just be like, yeah, everything's great. Okay, carbs, no problem. Like, got it, I didn't tell her anything. I was really thinking, and I just wasn't open to it. I didn't realize kind of how far things had gone. Um, and when I came back the second time, it was like, okay, in order for this to work, they're giving me all the tools. Here's the workouts, here's the car, here's the food, here's the macros. And like, that's all great. But if I'm not telling her how I feel, if I'm like, okay, I got it, well, how's she supposed to know that I'm struggling, or what I'm struggling with, or what I'm feeling? So anybody who struggles with any part of this, whether you overeat, undereat, you don't like your body, find someone. And you may have to try, you may have to leave and come back, you may have to try other coaches or other trainer or other therapists or whatever, but find someone. And I think if you open up and tell them what you're feeling, you're going to find that you're not the only person who deals with this. In fact, it's probably a lot more common than you think. And then once you realize that, you 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 feel okay about it. You feel okay about talking about it, because you can, hopefully, someone else will hear your story and be like, "Oh my God, I feel exactly the same." And then they'll find that person, they'll find that mentor who's going to help them get out of it.
Yeah.
So,
And definitely from what you've experienced and the changes in your life, like you were saying, with your relationships, with your friends, with how you view, you know, in general, just how you view food and exercise and your health, like that's a huge shift. And something made you reach out, something changed your life in that direction. And I'm sure somebody listening today is going to be hearing your story and relate to it, because we always feel like we're alone until we
yeah.
find out the person that says, "Oh my gosh, me too, girl." And then you're like, ah, we all want to be part of that tribe. We all want to feel connected. So it definitely is. And I so appreciate you sharing this story with us, Bonnie. I mean, I just so grateful that you chose us and that you have been a part of what we're doing, because to see the shift that you have made and the bagels that you are eating and all the
Yeah.
things,
Bagel
it's
sandwich, baby. It's the best.
and that was huge. I remember that in the beginning.
Oh yeah. I mean, I lived on low carb diet, everything,
I
you
think when we
know.
looked at your food, it was everything was processed.
Yes, everything was processed. Everything was as low calorie as you could get it.
Mhm.
Um, and that's just what I was so used to eating, and what I thought was, the right thing, that changing it, I was like, it's, in my defense too, it is so hard today because there is such an emphasis on weight loss.
Yep.
Everyone, it's everywhere. And the things that you tell people to do, people like me take it to the extreme. They take that advice to the extreme, and they're championed for it. It's, oh, this is, look at how good you are. I've had clients tell me, they're like, I bet you don't eat any carbs, do you? And I'm like, I'm trying, but you're not making it easy saying stuff like that. Um, so, those changes were hard. They were very hard. But then once you do it, and it becomes part of your life. Now it's like, now I would say, don't don't
Don't.
take my bread away. Don't touch that.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I'm sure knowing Amanda, because she still wants me to jump in the ocean because that is my fear, but
You're
we're
gonna
still
do
working
it.
on it.
Mhm.
I can attest, it's not great. It's not
It's
great.
not. It's not.
Right.
No. And we used to do triathlons and not the time that I went in and there were like 6 different lifeguards along the whole strip because of how crazy it was. So that was probably the last time I was in the water.
We'll get you there.
No, sharks, lots of sharks. No.
Nope.
Yeah.
No shark.
So
No shark.
I'll go away and visit Bonnie's family.
Yeah. You know,
We'll
that's
plan
the one
for
nice thing in Ohio. They have like nice lakes that you could swim
But no
in.
shark.
Like it's
Right.
no gators, no sharks.
Mm,
You know, it's like, oh, that looks far more inviting than that massive body of
Swamp.
water over there. Yeah.
mhm. It's true. It's true. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you guys have anything else to share before we wrap this one up in a bow,
Bonnie?
no?
You know, I mean, I'm just so grateful that I left and came back,
Yes.
and that, you know, even when I said I want to try these other things, you know, I mean, Brooke even said, she's like, well, I don't think that's a good idea, but if that's what you need to do, and then go do it. And I think this program is great because it gives you that autonomy then to say, okay, well, I'm going to try it. And when it doesn't work, you are welcomed back into the fold and be like, okay, let's talk about why it didn't work. Let's see how we could make it work, because it's just life. And if this is things you want to do in life, let's make it work for you instead of saying, okay, well, no, you can't ever do that again. And that's right now what I work with so much with Amanda is like, I love endurance sports. It's a challenge for me to keep it under control. But I love it and I want to do it. And what I wanted out of this whole program was to get that relationship with food and exercise so that I can do the things I love to do. And that's what I'm getting from this. I think it's always going to be a lifelong struggle for me. I don't think it's ever going to be like, oh, I've got it all under control, but I'm getting better all the time with it. And I'm living a life that I'm enjoying versus just not doing those things. I'm doing the things I want to do and the things I love to do. And I mean, I wouldn't be able to do this without Amanda. I sing her praises every day, and after our sessions, I'll think about what she said, and I'll be like, wow, that was really right. She hit it.
Always.
That's exactly right. And then I'll send her a message. I'll be like, wow, you were spot on with that. And it's been so helpful. So if I could say anything, it's like, get somebody in your corner and just be honest. Just don't try to hide it. Don't try to impress them or tell them everything's great, because that's what they're there for. And that's what's going to get you to the next. It's going to get you the life you want to live.
For sure. I mean, coaching, that's what it's about. It's not about shaming someone. It's being able to shine the light on things so you can view it, so you can look at things different and have a different perspective. And then you have an understanding. So then you can choose to or choose not to change the behaviors.
Mm.
And that's all it is. It's just, hey, this is what you did. This is what you said your goals were. Let's kind of deep dive into what went down there.
Yeah.
So awesome. Well, thank you so much, Bonnie, for
Oh,
sharing
thank you. No, this was great.
so much. And if you all enjoyed this episode, we would love if you would give us a review. And if there are any other topics you'd like us to share, please drop them in the comments. And until next time, have a great one. Thanks for tuning in to Master Your Metabolism. If you found value in today's episode, it would mean the world to us if you'd hit subscribe and share this episode with someone who could use a little guidance in their health journey. Ready to take the next step? Head over to www.mastersfitnesscoaching.com and you can book a free call right from the site so we can chat about your goals and how we can help support you. Don't forget to join our Facebook group where we're sharing coaching tips, support, and tricks to help keep you on track, and continue making progress. You don't have to do this alone. We're here to walk with you every step of the way. Until next time, stay consistent, stay kind to yourself, and keep mastering your metabolism. Let's do this together.